Hello, everyone. Welcome all, and welcome back to the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. Today, this is a bonus episode as we are talking about the incoming 2025 recruits on offense and some of the transfer portal pickups in basketball so far. And I have Eric Hessing on with me. So, Eric, welcome to the show.
What's going on, man? Haven't been on in a while. And
Yeah, man.
I was pretty bummed that we lost in the round of 32. But
Yeah.
it was a tough season. I think we ran out of juice. But looking at the transfer portal and all the movement happening, it's starting to get my juices flowing again. And I'm pretty excited for what we got going on next year. I think TJ and them learned from this year about what works for our program and, where we have to go moving forward. And I'm excited. And the pieces that we're starting to get is reflecting that. So I don't know. What do
Yeah.
you think
So,
about the guys that we've gotten so far?
I like these guys. I think obviously, a lot of people from what I've seen and the discourse that I've seen on Twitter, it's been sort of pretty toxic. Like for me, and I know that may be an understatement, Eric. It's really, really toxic. But like for me, I have full trust in this coaching staff that they know what they're doing. Like we said the same thing about every single other. Like we said that about Curtis Jones, and Curtis Jones is going to be one of the top players in
Oh,
Iowa State history.
you're
So
talking
like,
about the wrong Jones, man. Remember when they signed Robert Jones? Everybody was like,
yeah,
"What is happening? This guy doesn't know how to coach." I told you I was right about TJ Otzelberger. He should have never been the coach of Iowa State. And I love Robert Jones, man. I love
yeah.
Robert Jones. Give me like 5 Robert Joneses.
Yeah, and I mean, and me and Cody were talking about this previous show about the guys. I'm like, if they could be anything close to either Robert Jones or Hassan Ward and show that type of effort and bring it, like the
Yeah.
fans will endear themselves with those type of guys.
Yeah, we got Kuntz and Jones as like the first 2 guys, and the sky was falling. The sky was absolutely falling. Everybody's like, does TJ know? Does TJ know the talent that you need to play in the Big 12? Yes, guys. Like the negativity, I'm not going to focus too much on it. But this is what I have to say to that. If TJ doesn't want a guy on his team, he's not going to let him commit.
Right.
So
Like,
when I see this Eric Mulder guy being the first guy to commit, really athletic, great offensive efficiency, like that's who TJ wants. What I think TJ learned this season is we need to go back to that defensive. Everybody hustles on defense. Everybody's hustling on offense. Really efficient players. No breakdown in the defense. We're gonna go for steals. Kind of like that 2021 team that was always fighting and that 2023
yeah,
team always fighting too, suffocating defense. They had some pretty good offensive players in Keyshawn on that team and a couple other guys, but like really, we need to get back to that. The defense had some holes, and I think Eric Mulder and this Blake Buchanan who committed today, I think both those guys are going to really, really add to that intensity. And who knows? They might not even, Eric Mulder probably not going to start. We don't know how much Blake Buchanan's going to play, if he's going to be a starter or whatnot, depending on what happens with Oscar Clough. But we need that. We need the intensity again. We were just lacking it this year.
I completely agree, man. There's just times where the defensive intensity needed to be ratcheted up, and we didn't get it.
At some point, I just go, I'm just going to trust TJ with what he sees.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like we've been pretty spoiled, to be honest, Eric. We've made two Sweet 16s in 4 years, and like as much as as disappointed as I was to not make the Sweet 16 this year, like there's been teams like Ole Miss before this year who haven't made a Sweet 16 in 24 years. So, like, we really got to put things in perspective, to be honest.
And Ole Miss went out and spent in the portal last year. They really
Uh
spent in
huh.
the portal, and they kind of, it is what it is. They spent more than we have the capabilities to spend.
Right.
And they have Chris Beard, and they only went to the Sweet 16.
Right.
A team like Indiana, which is kind of like my second rooting interest because my family went there, like they spent a crazy amount of money last year, ones that Iowa State fans would like dream of, and they still didn't even make the tournament.
Yeah.
They paid Umar Ballo who most people probably who are listening to this don't even know who that is. He's their center. They paid him like $2 million, and you don't even know who he is. And they had, Mbako, who's another forward. Probably don't know who that is. They paid that guy a lot of money. They got Miles Rice, who was, the point guard for Washington State when we played them. They paid him a lot of money. They paid so much money. And that team was a dud. That team didn't fight. That team didn't they had a lot of talent. They had a lot of talent. And, that's why DeVries went there.
Yeah, I mean,
When you put up Iowa and Indiana next to each other, Indiana is going to spend triple, probably
of
more than
course.
triple than what Iowa spends.
Yeah, because Indiana is a basketball school. Obviously, they made the playoff this year in football, but Indiana will always be a basketball school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guarantee you, ask 99 out of 100 Indiana fans, they would say they
Oh
would
yeah,
rather be a basketball school.
absolutely, absolutely, and they care about football now that they're good.
Right.
But they are a basketball school. That's why I think that, getting back to Iowa, that's why I think that they made, it pains me to say this, I think they made the right hire in Ben McCollum. They
Yeah,
had to make that hire. I think that was a better hire than DeVries.
I think so as well.
Like, yeah, DeVries gets to bring his son, but that's only for one more year. But like McCollum knows how to play, to get how to play in like a
Hmm.
rock fight. And they need to be able to play like that,
Exactly.
because they're not going to get the high price talent anymore. You look at the guys
Right.
who left, Josh Dix and Owen Freeman, they're getting paid
Hmm.
because they had, pains me to say it, Tyler, they had a lot of talent, and Fran McCaffrey developed it.
They did.
He's just a horrible
Yeah.
in-game coach. He was just a horrible in-game coach, so they couldn't
Yep.
win. But he developed talent. He developed the Murray twins, Luca Garza.
Yep.
He knew how to develop talent. It's just he was a disaster in game. And then Owen Freeman goes for like 1.8 to Creighton. Josh Dix, I mean, I don't know how much money he's getting. Iowa can't match it.
Right. I can't imagine. Yeah, like everybody knew that their NIL was like one of the probably the lowest in the Big Ten. So like, I mean, they didn't really have. I mean, we already knew that DeVries wasn't going to go there.
Yeah,
So
they
I
had to
mean,
get McCollum. They had to get McCollum, or
yeah,
else, I don't know what they would do. It'd be so difficult for them to compete. So I'm giving kudos to Iowa, because that you have to do that. You had to get him.
you do. You had to do something. You don't want to be like far, far, far behind Iowa State, and then
Do you know
whoever
how much it
Drake
pains
gets
me to
again.
give kudos to that program?
I know. Trust me. Trust me. It pained me to hear you even say good
Oh,
things about Iowa. But
yeah.
but I
Ugh.
wanted to go back to what you said about TJ and his thing. I think it's also it's really a culture thing too. It
Mm-hmm.
goes back to with him and Matt Campbell being in line on the same thing. Like obviously, would we like these big money players? Yeah, but I mean, we got to remember that there is a culture instilled in this program to where if you don't fit what their mold of what they're trying to do, you're not going to come here. So as disappointed as we may be, I'll say that there's these guys are culture pieces, and I think they're going to be great additions to the squad.
I'm not even disappointed.
That's what I'm saying.
You watch that Tech Florida game. I'm gonna refresh your memory. You watch that Tech Florida game from yesterday.
Oh yeah.
You're probably still buzzing happy from that. I haven't even talked to you about that yet. But there's a point in that game where Tech is up by 10, and they kick it out to JT Toppin. And the time's running out in that game. It's looking like they're just trying to wrap it up. And JT Toppin gets cocky, and he wants to have the dagger. He wants to be the star of the show and get the dagger. He shoots up a three, and it doinks. And he
Uh-huh.
misses, and Florida gets it. And you could look at that and go, oh, Texas Tech's up 10. What's the problem here? What that's telling me is they think they already won. They have the mentality
Uh-huh.
that they already won the game. That's what and guess what? They lost the game by 5
Right.
because Walter Clayton Jr., dude.
Boy, bro, that boy is killing, man. He
I
hit
saw a tweet.
a step back three to take the lead, bro.
I saw a tweet, so I'm not going to take credit for saying it. But he's making the name Walter cool. He's
I
making the
mean,
name Walter
yeah,
cool.
it is.
Like
Man,
Texas, I'm watching that game. I'm like, Texas Tech is playing with their food. What are you doing? This is the Elite Eight.
yep.
Close them out. Like,
Close them out,
and
man. You
that's
can't play with your
we
food.
didn't that reminded me a lot of some of the games that we played where we didn't
Hmm.
have the intensity and the mentality to end a team's season.
Right.
You have to be a dog and end that team's season. You can't just go, enough's enough. A 10 point lead with however many minutes to go is enough. We needed that dog in us. And we lacked it this year. And I'm going to be critical of the team, but we lacked it this year. That we didn't
Hmm.
have that dog to go, I don't care that we're ahead by 10. Let's bury them.
Right.
Absolutely bury them. We just didn't have that. We had that last year. We buried Houston.
Yeah, we left no doubt in that game.
Yeah. We buried Houston. And that's the mentality that you need, especially at Iowa State. And I mean anywhere in the country. You look at SEC football. The difference between Alabama and some of the other teams in the SEC when Alabama was a dynasty and winning all those titles, Alabama buried everyone. They're coming out there to
Everybody.
bury people. Florida had just as much talent. Tennessee had just as much talent. Georgia, LSU, they all had just as much talent. But Alabama came out and wanted to bury everyone. And that's
Hmm.
what their mission was. They weren't out there to let's just score touchdowns and do cool things and look good and yada yada. No, they were like, I'm going to destroy people, and we're going to do it on the ground with Eddie Lacy and Trent Richardson, and it's going to be annoying, and you're going to hate us, and we don't care. That's what Robert Jones did. That's what Alias Kuntz did. Bury him, and yeah,
I bet.
get that
Yeah.
dog.
Like get that
Anyway,
done. All I would say to wrap up basketball is to just trust what TJ and this coaching staff
exactly,
have in store. Like I understand
exactly,
it's not the season we wanted, but y'all are gonna forget about this if we make a deep run next year. Because I have a feeling we're gonna make a deep run this year. Because
exactly.
every
Like
player's gonna be a year older and all that. Like so, just
when these guys commit to the program, it's
right,
not like TJ's going, what? That guy committed? No, I'm stuck with him. It's like, no,
right,
TJ took this guy out to lunch. This guy's gotten calls from all over the country, all of them, all over the country. And TJ said, I want that guy. I know how to make that guy work. I know where to put that guy. That's why we got Chatfield last year.
right.
And Chatfield turned out to be a pretty good player for us.
Mm-hmm.
He did exactly what we needed him to do. He's the
Yeah,
Chatfield's a big reason why we won that Texas Tech game.
he sure
Big
was.
reason. Joshua Jefferson definitely is the reason why we won that game, but Chatfield was a big reason. Joshua
And I
Jefferson was
mean,
so good in that game.
the way we got Joshua Jefferson was sort of a blessing in disguise.
Oh
Because
yeah, but he like the thing
if he
is he
wouldn't
was
have gotten
hurt.
hurt,
If
yeah,
he wouldn't have gotten hurt, we would have probably wouldn't have been here.
man,
So yeah, I mean, I'm just trusting whatever TJ does. All I ask for is just guys that fight. I don't need a bunch of 7-footers.
right,
Look at Houston, look at Tech. They don't have 7-footers on their team. They have a bunch of 6'8" guys that are fighting hard, positionless basketball, which I'd be okay playing that. But I'm asking for guys that fight. And if we do that, I'm a pretty happy fan, to be honest. Because I know we'll win. I know we have a coach that can win with that.
yeah, no, I
So
completely agree. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about is let's talk about this upcoming football recruiting class, man. Like
Woo!
the 2025 class has tons of talent. We're gonna look at the offensive talent. Let's hear about some of these players.
Sure. So where do you want to start?
I gotta bring up obviously some of my my local guy, my local
Oh
guy
boy.
Mason Allen's. He's intrigued me. I really like his
Yeah.
tape.
So he'll be on defense, but I think probably where we want to start
I don't know
is we want
why.
to start with the transfer guys.
Yes.
That'd probably be the best because those will be the guys who have the earliest impact on us. I really like the class that we brought in, and
Mm-hmm.
the class of 2026, what we're bringing next year, just looks like we're elevating the program, and that happens with whenever you go to the championship game. But these guys, man, the two transfer guys that we got, and the two wide receivers, Chase Soul and Xavier Townsend, I think these guys have the ability to be really special for us. Do
Definitely.
I think that they can be Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel?
Nah.
That's basically impossible to ask people to do that because I mean Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins could both be first rounders by the end
Right.
of this next month, and you got to bring me on for that podcast where we talk about the draft, man.
Yeah, bro, we're gonna have draft reaction. I might have the guy from our labs probably come on too, and we're gonna have a
Sure.
really big football talk. But yeah,
But the guy I really like and kind of the guy that's been the highlight is Chase Soul. He started
yes,
out at Colorado, spent a season at Eastern Carolina, and now we get him for 2 years. This guy, watching his tape, he probably needs to add a little bit of muscle to his frame, but he can move. He's a big body wide receiver. And the thing that I think really sold him, and the thing that sold me too, is that Noah Pauly is going to be coaching him. Noah Pauly
uh-huh,
is an incredible coach, an
yes, he
absolutely
is.
incredible coach. The guys that he's bringing in have shocked me. We haven't had this type of receiver talent come into our program before. Yes, we've had the 4 stars and Allen, Lazard, and a couple other guys,
Hmm.
but we've never really been able to get all that potential out of them. Noah Pauly he's a really, really special coach. So seeing Chase Soul paired with him when Noah Pauly went on to, he coached Jaden Higgins. He coached Christian Watson at North Dakota State. Taller wide receiver who can run is exactly what Noah Pauly is really good at developing. A really raw
Hmm.
prospect. He's really good at taking them from being a, you know, really good prospect with high potential and turning them into a day one or day two draft pick. And that's kind of where I see Chase Soul's ceiling to be is a day one or two draft pick, which would be huge for us. He's going to be the guy for the next couple of seasons that we target. Yeah, I mean he's the guy.
Uh-huh.
I think expect big things from him. Can we expect a 1,000-yard season? I'm not sure. I think we're going to be more of a spread it around type of offense, especially because we have two really good tight ends,
Yeah.
especially receiving tight ends on this team. And I think that we just want to move it around more now that Nolan Higgins are gone. But I would expect Soul to get about 800 yards receiving next season, which would be huge.
Yeah.
Would be huge. And Xavier Townsend, I mean, I remember watching in a hotel room with you, watching him on TV
Man,
for a high
against
school
Arch
game. He scored
Manning's,
like
yeah,
he scored like 5 touchdowns, dude.
that
I
game
was
was insane.
I was just like looking at you. I was looking at you going, look at this guy. He's going again. And every time he would break one off, I would have to wake you up. Tyler drove in that day and he was falling asleep because he's tired from driving. And every time I'd be like, Tyler, wake up, he's doing it again. And you'd be like, huh? What's happening? And I could just tell you're like, oh, there he goes again. Okay, good night. I
Spread
was
my
like, doing
business
it
like
again,
that.
Tyler. And you were probably like, I don't care. He's doing it again. Good for him. Whatever.
No, I mean, no,
Yeah, no, I'm messing
you
with you.
know, no. I get it. No, like for me, it's like recruiting. Recruiting is something that I have genuinely gotten more interested in,
Hmm.
just really from our days from us doing the cycling recruiting podcast together.
Yeah.
And like really for me, I think it's been uh made me better at
Hmm.
breaking down people's tape and knowing what to look for in tape rather than just looking at like just just highlights. Oh, look at that. Now I'm like, okay, look at how he came up off the line. Look at his
Hmm.
acceleration here in this play.
And
Looking at more the intricate things.
I think people are going to get more and more interested with it when we have the transfer portal now, but they're going to be looking at other players that have already played
Mm-hmm.
in college. But I think it's going to get more and more exciting for people because now we have so much movement in this sport. They want to see what they're
Right.
getting. When you have a whole core of your team stay at your school for 3 or 4 years and they all play together, you're kind of like, that's the team. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody else is coming into play, like they're playing. But now that like there's new faces every single year, you kind of want to see what you got.
Right.
And I think Xavier Townsend, he was a role player at UCF. he was a role player and he did some pretty good things. I think he can come in and fit the slot position
I agree.
and just adds the most valuable aspect that he brings is he's been there already.
Right.
He's already done this. So it's not like he's coming out on the field. It's his experience. It's not like he's coming out on the field just going, oh no, am I lined up right? No, what if I drop a ball in front of everyone? Am I just going to be awful then?
Yeah.
No,
I
he's not.
mean,
He's already played 3 seasons at UCF. He knows how this works. He knows what a game day feel is and all that. He knows what to expect. And I think
right.
that honestly is the most important aspect that Xavier Townsend brings to this team is just some consistency and knowing how the whole game time feel happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, and I agree because like this is something since this year we're gonna be hitting the ground running and playing against Kansas State. So we don't have like a warm up game against FCS team. We're gonna be hitting the ground running against K State, and K State is looking to get on the board against us, a team that hasn't beaten us in 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But so having experienced receivers who know what they're doing on the line, reading the defense and their routes is going to be crucial.
Yeah, because
So
like the
definitely,
best I would describe it would be like when we got LaMichael Petway, he was
yeah,
good. He was a really
yes, he
good player
was.
for us. But the best part about it was like he came in day one, and when he got on the field, he knew what to expect because he played in
Mm-hmm.
the SEC. So
Right.
like the lights are not too bright anywhere. He played in the SEC, and we at that point we didn't know what we had in Tariq Milton
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't know what we had. We'd seen Deshaunte Jones, but Deshaunte Jones was kind of like the main guy now. And we like it was we Hakeem Butler's gone. Okay, who are we throwing it to? Who's Brock throwing it to? And LaMichael Petway was a kind of a calming force. Like he was a
Uh-huh.
third down guy. Just chug it up to him on third down. He'll probably come down with it. He was a cheat code on third down.
He sure was.
And then Brees broke onto the scene and started doing big things.
Yep.
And also, I got to throw out there, LaMichael Petway was interfered with during the Oklahoma game, and that should have been us.
And they didn't
Anyway,
call it, and it should have been us. Yeah.
but yeah, those two guys, I think really what they're adding is their experience, and I think Chase
Yeah.
Soul's upside is to the moon, and I'm excited to see what Noah Polley can do with him.
Yeah, Noah Poly is a up and coming riser in the coaching ranks. I don't know if y'all remember that he did take an interview with the 49ers earlier this off season. Obviously, probably just to pick their mind, and him and the 49ers picking their mind probably to see you know just because teams like to do that and like to get intel on each program.
They're trying to figure out what to do with Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah. They're like, huh, should we get one of these receivers or keep Ayuk?
Because
So,
Ayuk is just that whole situation is just so stupid.
yeah.
That whole thing from the start of it. Like, why'd you sign that guy for that much? And then they had to gut their whole team. Just
Yeah,
dumb.
that's such a
Might be
disaster.
it might be a blessing in disguise at the end of the day, but just a disaster. Anyway,
Yes.
we can move on. We can move on to other guys if you want.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about, let's talk about Will Tompkins. This is a guy
Okay.
that really intrigued me with some of the linemen we have coming in this class.
Oh yeah, so let's talk about some of these linemen. The thing that always has kind of where I felt that we've been lacking as far as recruiting at Iowa State is the trenches,
Mm-hmm.
specifically the offensive line. I felt like we can get, better prospects than the guys that we were getting in years past.
Mm-hmm.
And this I'm talking about since I started, looking at Iowa State recruiting. So back in like the early 10s. I thought we could do better than what we had. This season, they've definitely addressed it. I think we got some really, really good prospects coming in. Will
Mm-hmm.
Tompkins, he's kind of like the stalwart guy of this class, really high end player. And we could see him push for a starting position. Maybe not this year, he'll probably redshirt, but definitely next
Yeah.
year. He's a really, really good prospect, and he'll probably play one of the tackles. He's, man, the guy who I would kind of compare him to is Joe Alt from
Oh,
Notre Dame, and then
yeah.
the LA Chargers, I guess now. Just a really, really consistent, big player. He's probably not as big as Joe Alt. Joe Alt's just massive.
Yeah.
But Will Tompkins is a very athletic tackle. And I think that his ceiling, I mean, he could play next year in his redshirt freshman season. And I think that he could be one of those day 2 draft picks. He could sneak into day 1, but he's a really, really good physical specimen. I think that looking at the recruits from the state of Iowa last year, I think that he would be tied for
Uh-huh.
the best recruit in the state of Iowa last year. And he was so good. And we had a really, really good selection of guys from the state of Iowa last year. And I think that he's probably 1 or 1A in the class. I really like Will Tompkins. A couple of the other guys. The second guy that I will talk about is I might be pronouncing his name wrong. Probably these next 3 guys I might pronounce their name wrong, but if so, my apologies. Quol. He went to the Adidas Army All-American Bowl thing. 4-star guy, really big wingspan. He's 6'5", 250. So he's gonna need to fill out his frame, but he's already on
Yeah.
campus, so he's working on that. Probably redshirt to, get up to 300 pounds. Really long wingspan. I like him as a player comp for Tyron Smith. I know you know all about him, but just really big wingspan. I think he probably projects as a tackle as well, just because his wingspan is so long. And really athletic guy. Really late pickup for us. He was committed to Purdue for the longest time, but then, Purdue gutted their program.
Uh-huh.
So he decided to flip to Iowa State. He's one of those guys who has arms long enough to scratch his knees. So, I really like this guy. He's a 4-star guy. He bumped up to a 4-star after he went to the Army Bowl, whatever they call it now. They've changed the name like
American
5.
Bowl. Yeah.
Well, they've changed the name recently, so I think it's like the Navy Bowl now. I don't know. It's that bowl.
Yeah.
It's the same
Yeah, it's
thing.
that bowl, yeah.
Really, really good prospect. I really like Quol. And the 2 other guys that we got are Sione Perkins. The thing that stands out about Sione Perkins is he's 6'9".
Yeah, 6'9", 260. I think he can probably put at least
Oh, he's
another.
290 now. He's just a
Oh,
beast.
290.
Absolute
Okay.
beast. Just a big dude. Just a big guy. Although he's a big guy, he moves really well. That's kind of what we're looking for at Iowa State. You got to be able to move well. You got to be able to get down and, get good leverage. If you can't get good leverage, I mean, it probably just ain't going to work at Power 4 football. But Sione Perkins gets really good leverage. And I think with his frame, he could be a really, really special player for us. It's just going to take time for him to fill out. He'll probably need his redshirt season in a couple years to really, really get to where his body needs to be. But at the end of it, I think he could have a really special career at the end if he pushes through. And then the last guy this is a tough name for me, Vea Ikikula.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for butchering that. Guy was committed to Stanford for the longest time, flipped really late in the process to Iowa State to sign. He's 6'4", 295 pounds, projects really well as a guard. Really physical, nasty guy. I really like him as a guard. That's what you want from your guards, making a mess of the middle, pushing their guys around, creating his own holes. And I think that he'll be a really good player for us. Might take a couple of seasons to get there, but once he gets there, I think he could be a really, really special player if he can get his strength. He's really strong right now, but if he can get his strength up to just being a monster, I think that he could be a really special player for us. So
All right.
that's our offensive line. I really like these guys. I think that we have some guys that could play early in their career, but all these guys, I can see the vision. I can see the vision, Tyler, of what
Mm-hmm.
Clanton's looking for. Some of them might take a little longer to see the field than others, but at the end of the day, it's really dependent on when you get your opportunity, are you pushing dudes around in the ground?
Right.
And I really like these guys. So, what do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about these receivers. I
Okay.
want to talk about Karan Brickens and Xavier Robinson, to be
Okay. What
specific.
about Dylan Malone, your guy?
Dylan Malone, my guy who's from Yorkville. Dude is 6'3", 175. I really like all these guys' sizes. I guess my question for you is, out of these 3 guys, who do you think has the highest upside? I have to say is X, but Karan Brookings with his size, I have a feeling that it could be him too.
So, let me give you some player comps here.
Okay.
And Then I'll answer that question. Xavier Robinson, who's 6 foot 275, my player count for him would be Odell Beckham Jr.
Wow.
Karan Brookins, who's 6'4", 6'5", 180, runs a 10-800-meter dash. My
Oh my
player count for
goodness.
him is Christian Watkins. Dylan Malone, 6'3", 275. My player count for him is Jawan Jennings.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I think those are very so. The thing with Xavier Robinson, reason why I'm kind of giving him that Odell Beckham comp, he's very flashy, makes big time plays, but sometimes there's a little struggle with consistency there,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw that with Odell Beckham.
Right.
But when the lights are on, he can make big time plays. Big. You saw that with Jalen Noel too when he played in high school.
Right.
Then Karan Brookins, the reason why Christian Watkins or Watson or whatever his name is, Christian Watson, is just burner, just an absolute burner with that size. You can't guard it. It's really rare to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reason why Dylan Malone gets Jawan Jennings is Jawan Jennings is not the fastest wide receiver. He's not the most special guy that you're thinking like, oh my gosh, he's making these big plays like Justin Jefferson. Oh my gosh, it's Jamar crazy play. No, that's not really Dylan Malone's game. But when it comes to Jawan Jennings and Dylan Malone, they're very sure-handed receivers. They're going to make plays. They're going to be very consistent, sure-handed receiver, getting open, doing the big things, Mr. Reliable types. The guy who I think has the highest upside is probably Xavier Robinson, because if he can get his consistency, if he can figure out his consistency, he's a 10-year NFL pro right there. Like you can see it. You can see it with all three of them, but you're talking about like a guy who has the it factor, and I think that's his ceiling is guy who has the it factor. He dealt with an injury his junior year of high school that kept him out of playing football his junior year. But when the lights come on, it's like, hey, we need a guy to make a big play. We need a guy with an it factor to make a big play. That's Xavier Robinson. But I could see Karan Brookins and Dylan Malone too, because Dylan Malone could be a fan favorite just by how consistent he is. And you saw that with Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard made big plays too. He made bobbling catches and crazy catches and stuff like that. But the thing that fans really loved about Alan Lazard, he was always in the right spot and he always made the play. And that really elevated Matt Campbell to be able to, like, not being in the doghouse, tread water every year. Like him and David Montgomery are the sole reason why this program is where it is.
Completely
Because
agree.
they were able to make consistent plays with, Kyle Kemp, with how limited Kyle Kemp was. I mean, to think we beat Oklahoma in Oklahoma with Kyle Kemp. But anyway, and then Karan Brookins, he's one of those guys where if he becomes so much of a matchup nightmare in the Big 12, he could just run away with it. He could just absolutely run away with it. Because he's so athletic. I mean, 6'4", 6'5", with a 10-800-meter dash. Good luck, because you're gonna have to cover him. You're gonna have to cover him with your safeties. You're gonna have to cover him with your safeties, and safeties usually aren't that fast.
Right. And getting him was actually sort of interesting because Ron Brookings comes from a region where we usually don't get guys, and that's New Jersey. That's usually more like Penn State territory.
And this is the type of guy that Noah Pauley usually will get the most out of. So I really like all three of these guys. I think, we'll see what happens, but usually wide receivers play early.
Yeah.
Usually they play early when they're, if they've got something there, because they're kind of ready to go when you get them out of high school,
Definitely.
So we saw Dom Overby and we saw Brett Eskildsen a lot last year, and they were only true freshmen. So wide receivers are kind of the soonest that if they're playing, like you kind of know by year 2 what you got with them.
Right.
So, I mean, Jalen Noel played immediately. And we've had other guys that we've talked about that it's kind of been that question that is always asked, where's this guy? When's he going to play? It's like, okay, we don't know. So anyway, that's kind of how I feel about the wide receivers.
Okay, and then lastly, for on the skill players front, let's talk about
the most slept on player.
Running backs.
The most slept on player. We
and
got
of
the most
course our
slept on player in the
quarterback.
whole class. Let's talk about it.
All right.
River Peppers. River Peppers is the most
Yes.
slept on player in this whole class. He's so good. He's so good. When you watch his tape and you compare it to like other running backs, for the average fan, you're probably going to be like, oh, he just, he looks like every other running back. River Peppers is so freaking good, dude. He's so good. My comp with him would be Tyrone Tracy. If you've watched the
Ah,
Giants last year, you saw that Tyrone Tracy kind of was the only good part about the Giants. The only good part about the Giants. Is that correct, Ty?
correct.
And
Correct.
because what a joke of a franchise. Absolute joke of a franchise. But
Jeez.
River Peppers he's not the biggest. He's only 5'11", 190. He's on campus right now as an early enrollee. He is a very, very, very good player. Great vision, great cuts, good speed, and adequate physicality. This is a really, really good pickup. Overlooked by a lot of schools, but I know Kansas State really, really wanted him to be their running back. And Kansas State is pretty good at finding running backs.
Yeah.
DJ Giddens was good. Deuce Vaughn was good. I'll give credit where credit's due. They're really good at finding really talented running backs. And they wanted River Peppers, who was out of Missouri.
Yep.
They really wanted him, and we were able to secure his commitment. Big win for us. Big win.
Big
I really
win.
like him. Another guy that we got, his name's Jaden Jackson. We got another Action Jackson. This is kind of your bruiser type. He's 5'11" as well, but he's 220. Big boy. He reminds me a lot of Alfred Morris.
Oh, I like that. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
that comp.
Big bruiser type guy, but also, he knows how to run between the tackles and everything. He doesn't need to use his body. He's not going to wow you with his speed, but smart runner. He was a really late commitment for us. I like this guy too. I think he can add a lot to the running back room. So
All right.
that's kind of the offense, except
Yeah.
we're missing one guy, Tyler.
We're
Why don't
missing
you
one
guys know what he
guy,
built?
and obviously I saved him for the best for last.
Okay.
And this guy is Alex Mansky. Tell us about Alex Mansky.
Alex Mansky. So I took a little trip last year up to Algona, Iowa, because I wanted to see what it was all about. They were playing Clear Lake. Algona was playing Clear Lake. And there's a couple of prospects that were playing on the field, including Jack Limbaugh, who's a defensive end for us, and a couple guys that are, either were Hawkeye prospects or commits at the time. So I just kind of wanted to watch a good football game. And Alex Mansky was the quarterback. And my comp for him is Joe Burrow, where he has really good athleticism, but he doesn't need to use it in order to be effective. Alex Mansky, the one thing that, he's one of the best quarterback prospects that we've ever recruited. You look at Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's definitely the best. He's definitely the stars. I don't look at the stars too much. Because if you look at the stars, you'd be like, oh, Alex Mansky's the best prospect. And then it's, J.J. Cole, and then, we have Hunter Deckers and whatnot. Brock Purdy is the best. He is the best prospect. He's such a freaking gamer. He has the total it factor. Oh my gosh, he was so good. And Rocco has a lot of similarities to Brock. He's just not as physical as Brock was, and didn't have the same extending plays, crazy running ability that Brock had that we saw at Iowa State as well. But Alex Mansky, the one thing that I would kind of, the question that I have with him is, does he have that ability to make the insane play?
Right.
Which is probably, is a crazy thing to ask. But when Brock, does he have the clutch gene? That's what I'm asking. Does he have the clutch gene? You got to drive the ball down, 2 minutes to go, 75 yards in order to win the game. Can he do that? And that's something that, we really can't tell until you get on campus for the most part. Brock Purdy had that. You can tell that by his tape, because he took Perry High School to the state championship. Perry High School was a joke, absolute joke in the state of Arizona, and he took them to the championship. I think he did 2 years in a row. But that was absolute. And then they got crushed by Chandler. But Chandler crushes everybody. This one thing that I wonder about Alex Mansky is, can he carry a team like that? They had a
Yeah.
really good team in Algona. Can he carry the team? And that would be the one question that I have. And it's a very important question for a quarterback, but that's something really can only really tell when they get on campus. But as far as all the tools, he can make all the throws. Really good athlete, 6'3", 5 pounds. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the arm talent. High 4-star guy, top 100 recruit. I mean, he's looking like the golden boy, and I'm excited for him. When Rocco decides to go to the NFL, it's going to be an interesting quarterback battle that offseason.
For sure.
Anyway,
Well,
so yeah,
that is the. Thank you guys for joining us today, Eric. Thank you for coming on for
of
breaking
course.
down the offensive side of the 2025 recruiting class. Join us next week as we do another bonus episode about the 2025 recruiting class as we talk about the defensive players. A few shameless plugs before we end the show today. As Thank you guys for your support. You guys have made Bleav in Iowa State, a top 15 sports podcast in the state of Iowa. So please keep listening. Tell everybody that you know about this podcast. We're up and coming podcast. As always, we can be found, or I can be found on Twitter at SideTieGuy if you need to get in touch with me. Eric can be found on Twitter at Sidelights. So if you have any recruiting questions, you can ask him. And of course, as always, follow us on social media at our 5 different forms of social media: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. They can be found at Bleav in Iowa State Podcast. How do you spell Bleav? Bleav. Once again, Bleav. So for Tyler Carter, this is the Bleav in Iowa State Podcast. Roll clones, baby.
Go Clones.